Sie sind wieder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fantastic CRM Converse show. Today, brought to you by your usually friendly hosts and a fantastic special guest.
Who says we are friendly?
Mostly, aside of if you do not have the proper supply of coffee or other, let's say, thrilling drinks which inspire. Putting that, George is very properly prepared. He has the right, let's say, approach in having the right drink for the region where he is just positioned. A wine glass, at least, filled with something which is tasty and I hope inspiring as well. If you follow George a bit on Facebook, you see that he is regularly working in a vineyard just to get grounded again a bit, and he's enjoying very much nature. And he lives in a fabulous city, which I absolutely easy can recall. Yeah. And now, George, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself a bit. And we are very happy that you're with us. And today we will discuss a bit the perspectives of AI, open source, and what a proper translation engine, artificial intelligence based, can make out of a funny wording. Let's go for it.
So, thank you very much for invitation, Thomas, Ralph, and Marshall. I'm very happy to be here, and so cheers to you all here in the room, and cheers to everybody outside. So stay healthy, and that's a cuvée of Riesling and Müller-Thurgau for everybody who knows a little bit about the wine grapes, and so a very, very tasty and a fine wine. And Ralph and his last name Korb, it's also Korb, it's the name of the city I'm living, and I have the office, and so Ralph could remember it very good. He could recall it very, maybe after 3 caipirinhas also very, no problems to recall his name and the name of my city. What I can tell you about me, how long do you have time? It's 32 years history of practices. After the studies, 8 years at Yves Rocher, the maybe famous mail order company. Today we call it e-commerce company or multi-channel retailer. 8 years at Yves Rocher. I will now always have some experiences to transform the ideas, the experience from 1990 to today, because some experiences are never running out of fashion. So it was a very good experience. After these 8 years, I went to a city near Augsburg. It was a business-to-business publishing house. It's called Vika. And there I was for 3 years a member of the board of a publishing house, and I learned a little bit about the B2B business and some other very interesting issues, so maybe 3 years also in content production, content usage, content distribution. So I had the advantage to know a little bit about content marketing some years before most of the others. And so another experience I had very early, it's in the year 1996, I had the chance to start the first e-commerce web shop at Yves Rocher. So also maybe it's a very long time ago, where I start with email marketing, with creating web shop and so on. And after these 3 years in Augsburg, I'm coming back to Swabian region, to the lifestyle retailer Bräuninger. Maybe the German knows a little bit. It's like the Nordstrom, I think in America, for example, or Macy's. It's a little bit comparable to Macy's or Galeries Lafayette in Paris. So Bräuninger is one of the famous retailer in Germany. And I was responsible for the loyalty card, the loyalty program. And after 2 years, I have decided to go in the consulting area. And now 20 years later, I'm sitting here. Maybe 20 years more runners on my.
Well, look at me.
Yeah. So everybody from us, we have the same problems and the same maybe the same skin care. I don't know.
Yeah. It's fair enough that before you take off your captain's hat, you explain a bit your company's name, 1A relationship, and that the relations has to do with the relationship. Yeah. And one of your former buddies who is observing your business and the creativity, the company, and it's going forward. He is looking after you from heaven. Sasha has left you far too early, but he is a guardian angel you still have on your side.
I can't describe it better than you. So maybe the last 20 years I had 2 companies. The first one was built up in 2003, and after 7-8 years I changed the company, and then I resell the company and build another. It's called 1A Relation. And the idea, you said it, Ralph, was to pick out the name ship from the word relationship, and I'm very near to the North Sea, to the East Seas, and to say, okay, what could we think about the CI and CD in the company? It could be a maritime head, it could be a ship, it could be a sail, it could be everything all around this approach of thinking about a ship. The ship is also a very good picture because Antoine Saint-Exupéry, he called in his, I think, a very, very famous leadership sentence to say, don't help your people to use the tools. Let them dream about the next milestones. Let them dream about the next island. And so for me, it's a very good picture. It's a very good idea to say that we are a little bit different. Our USP is a little bit different, and so we symbolize it about with this hat. And Sasha, it's the last sentence to this. Sasha Bartlov, he had the idea to put a hat on in CeBIT 5 years ago, I think, and so that was 1 hour brand, a 1 hour mark to say, okay, I could remember you. You wear the hat last time, and so it's a good recall, as you said before. And our focus is in the last years. The focus is on helping companies to make the right choice from the MarTech landscape to not only one tool, maybe to get the right solution of tools. And so we are discussing what could be a good big picture of a landscape, what is a good picture to develop in. And then to say, okay, first of all, for example, we have to replace or we have to invent a CRM system. Other come to us and say, help us to choose the right marketing automation software. Some others said, email marketing is our pain point, and so on and so on. And most of all, and the last 2 years, we have very, very big projects. One company is 6 billion euros turnover tall. The other, one of our current customers, is 2 billion euros tall. Another current project now that we have a big audit to re-innovate the IT landscape on the one hand, but the biggest problem is not the IT. The biggest problem is the collaboration between business and IT. The biggest problem is the leadership on the IT side, in the business side, and also the collaboration on the leadership level or C level. And so everybody knows it. We are talking day per day about technique, but the big pain points is not the tool. Very often, it's not the tool. That's
Let
one.
me quote myself. There is that magic triangle story here. If you have here the power, but here is the connection not properly coming to the brain, and there is no light starting with all the energy, it doesn't help at all. Yeah, to have to bring the bits and pieces together to make it work, and the team has to utilize the tools you get them at your hand, which they have given, to use it in a proper way. And the attitude is in the change management thinking and how to bring people together, that they feel that it's beneficial for them and that the employee experience which is created is helping them to serve their customers and do their job easier, more delightful, and with more fun, and with the outcome which is to their liking, which comes a bit nearer our topic, because you are not only a lecturer and you are also driving a portal, tech world, which you utilize. And one of your hobbies is very much to liaise with Scott Brinker. So you are a very knowledgeable guy, aside in Franz Rinsma here in German-speaking Europe.
Netherlands,
Franz has the tribe, if I recall properly, in the Netherlands and in some English-speaking European parts, whereas you were the first touch point if somebody wants to know something of a MarTech landscape here in German-speaking Europe. You are active.
Give me some seconds for completing, because the one is the selection, the one is the implementation of tools, and the third part, and that it's very important. It's not only to implement a tool because it's very easy to implement, but the big challenge is to get a good percentage of usage of this tool, and so we decide to add a training program. Not only to train to use the tool, but it's more in collaboration, it's more in mindset focus. And so that's a triangle. You said before that the 3 big points for our consulting business is to choose, to implement, and to train and to use. And the result is a happy user and happy customer. So that's the goal that we are putting on the table.
And how did it happen? By doing all the lecturing you did for the Deutsche German Direct Marketing Academy and the HWBB and Adobe Academy, that you drive your focus and interest aside of the closed license world also to the open source area?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because in the last 5 years, we are thinking for our company what could be the best CRM system for us. And we are
your own usage, right?
Your own company, or for our own company, for my company. And we had maybe 100 consulting projects with you choose this one and you use this one and choose that one, but like I don't know the English translation for it. In German we said the Schuster has the worst, or the what it's called, Schuster in English.
The shoemaker.
The shoemaker has the worst shoes normally. So that's for us also to think about in the approach of shoemaker. What are the best shoes for us? What are the appropriate shoes for us? And so I can honestly say we have tried and tested very huge number for us, maybe 5 different projects. 5 different products. Every testing, every piloting does not fit very sensible and very good. So we are thinking more and more what are our problems. So we are doing also a request list for us. So normally you think you can choose it by heart. No, we can't do it by ourselves by heart. We have also to make a checklist. We have also make use case list and the same procedure as we consult. And then after this, maybe it's 1 year ago. After this procedure, 1 year ago, we decided to say we need one all-in-one software, because if we are choosing a CRM solution, we need a time register software, we need a project management software, we need a event organization software, we need a landing page software, we need an email marketing software, we need this and that and blah, blah, blah. And how could we handle all these interfaces? We can't handle it. And so I said to the team, what could be the best solutions for us? And everybody said, we need a tool which give us the possibility, which give us the capability to handle maybe 80%, maybe 75%, but the majority of problems. And so we are seeking different solutions in this all-in-one case. It was by accident we find Odoo. It was not a very strategic approach, but we had a contact to a Switzerland consultant, and he gives us an idea what we could do with Odoo, and everybody in our team said, "Oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool." And so maybe for everybody who do not know what is Odoo, can I share the screen for some seconds, please?
Well,
of course. You just click the share button and go right ahead.
There is it.
And then we may or may not bring it to the screen.
Yeah. It might not work, but at least in theory, you should be able to do that.
In theory, we give you all the opportunities and the right to try.
If it's too difficult, I make it very easy, because we have now the possibility to run 12 different tools we had in the history now in one tool. For example, the accounting is in this tool, the CRM is in this tool, all the sales activities are in this tool. Our subscription model, our new subscription model is in this tool. Our website building is planned to do in this tool. The e-commerce web shop is in this tool. We had a live chat tool integrated. We have now e-learning possibilities, and we are making video interviews like you do it with me, and we are cutting these large videos in pieces and give it like an e-learning module to the readers. We have a project management module. We have our consulting timetable. We have a help desk. We have a ticketing system in. The marketing automation is running out maybe next week, maybe next month, in July, the first or second week. email marketing we use. And so maybe if you count all the examples from me, I told you it's maybe it's up to 15 modules. Maybe in the past we had it in 15 products, and now we had in all in one. And that's for us, after 1 year experience, very, very interesting and very satisfying, because my team, three people are working on Odoo, and they are not programmers. So we have the no-code, low-code philosophy. Everybody knows no-code, low-code philosophy out there. You have to think about what you want to do. Maybe every email marketing or marketing automation tool is supporting low-code, maybe also no-code. But you can make it all by drag and drop. And so most of our customizing we do ourselves, and maybe 10%, maybe 20%. It depends a little bit on the subject. We get help from our Switzerland colleague, and so it's a very cheap deal for us, because we do not paying very much as consultants fees. We are doing the most of ourselves. And after 1 year, to say we have 15 modules live, I'm very happy for this. And so it's not only a look on open source, but for us, it's actually it is an open source. And so we have lots of fun now.
How did you said you found them by accident? Why is it, if they are the systems are that powerful, why is it that it's not widely known?
I think lots of companies have fear to think about open source. In the last 20 years, maybe if I focused on 12 years, we had only one project there that a customer said, please suggest us also open source software. Mm-hmm. Only one of our projects we had the request. And every other project, the customer said to us, please do not bring us an open source software. Because and I have the experience, maybe it's like a narrow range of market. But I had the experience, for example, Martin Aschoff, maybe Marshall. I don't know. Do you know Martin Aschoff from Agnitas?
Me, I know.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Agnitas is an email marketing provider in Germany, one of the 10 biggest in Germany. And Martin is was also a member of the German Direct Marketing Association for years. And he said 12 years ago, we use open source because we have the programmer on board. And so we are able to customize, to do the things ourselves. And so I think that's a kind of philosophy. And the bigger companies, mostly the very large companies, they have no philosophy. So to answer to you, Thomas, I think it's a kind of philosophy you have or you haven't. Mm-hmm. It's my opinion.
And what at the end, if we just open up the monthly paycheck you invest for Odoo in Belgium, because what people might research is that it's a Belgian-based organization and they have a lot of partners. And one of the advantages you quote is that their booking and accounting software, that their accounting software is working under European standards, whereas some other all-in-one products which are not open source but closed source, I would like to name Zoho in that one, Zoho One, would deliver you also a bandwidth of all-in-one integrated solutions. And for us, it's a curiosity why, by knowing all the landscapes, you have started with the Odoo approach, and I would like to know, as you mentioned, your Swabian roots, such as you are very cost conscious, what per month you pay to them in their piggy bank.
That's very, very easy to answer. The only part and the only monthly check we had to pay, or the monthly invoice we get, it's 200 euro for the server in Frankfurt.
Wow.
So the hoster, yeah.
And we do not pay to Odoo in Belgium because we are using the open source, and the Belgium business model or the business model of the Belgium company is like maybe similar to the past approach of Sugar. They start also with a open source version, and then you can give an update, or you can upgrade it. But I think it's better to a paid version or to a planned version, and then you pay some euros, and so you can use Odoo as an open source version, and you do not have to pay a euro. We only pay for the hosting, like as Thomas said, and let me summarize maybe the invoices we get from our partner. Maybe 2,000 or 3,000 euros in the last 12 months, not more.
Okay. And your company has how many people?
The number of licenses we have installed, it's about 10. We have 12 people, 10 are using regularly. The two others, they are not in the interim management people normally.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get involved, sometimes not. We have 12 office accounts, but we have only 10 for the.
Yeah. So it sounds like a very fair price solution. Before Thomas is jumping in, I wanted to know if you also utilize from the office perspective open source solutions such as LibreOffice or OpenOffice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then we do not test it because we are thinking about these all-in-one part, because we have a problem. We had a problem with the accounting. We had a problem with all these daily business things, and so we use the Office 365 version, and on the other hand the Odoo, and that's all. So it's a very, very clear part for us, and the other solutions, they are not on our testing they were not on the agenda. We had an idea in the first phase. I do not know, but it's also in a Belgian company. It starts with the knee, but I do not have the name in mind. But it's also an ERP, CRM, and so on solution. And but we decide within maybe some checkpoints to go the way to do, because the biggest challenge on the other side is if we do not know to customize at one point more individual for us, we need somebody we have trust in. And so my Switzerland colleague, Tom, so I have trust to say, okay, if we can go further, we can go to Tom. And so 1 year later, I can say he solved all the problems we had.
Fair enough. And if the other company from Belgium with an E in the name is utilizing a submarine, I would have a clue who it is.
Please give me the hint.
The submarine utilizing is the only deliverer who has a native Apple solution, and it's called Efficy.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Yeah, I know. as I know 140 products antenna can use by night. Yeah, one of my claims and my elevator pitches, and FSC, my pleasure, my friend. And FSC is, as they bought Web CRM and some others, honestly, a local European player who is growing fast and is getting some footprint also in territories like Spain, France, and the Netherlands. And they approach, for instance, which is not to everybody clear, because Belgium has 2 language zones, to be honest, 3 at least. A German one, the Netherlands speaking or Vlaams, and the Wallonie, the French speaking area. Yeah. And so if you solve that problem, you can go for Switzerland, which has then Italian on top. Yeah. And try to make your market and get a clear feeling of. And for me, it was just fascinating that Odoo is on more or less. I found them by one of their partner summits or one of their online events where they invited everybody to join and to have some fun in their online session, the virtual world conference. And then they showed pictures. It is more like a large, now I have to look for the right word, Thomas, you might help me. Ein Gutshof. It looked like a very large farmhouse. Yeah.
But the look like is the one hand, but I want to add a little bit. For me, the surprising behind, or the surprise behind Odoo is, I have now experience also with Tom, our partner, to say we have a project for a retailer, and you can make multi-channel retailing with Odoo, because you have also the point of sale, the cashier part. You can put your display on the counter with an Odoo surface. You can make the e-commerce with Odoo. So every transaction is within 5 minutes synchronized. For example, we had a project for a manufacturer, because they make all the mixture of muesli riegel. What is the fitness bar, I think, or what it's called in English, a bar to eat.
We can ask our most known
granola bars, yeah.
granola.
So I was very, very interesting to see how they handle it, and so they are buying, for example, 2,000 ingredients, and they handle all these 2,000 ingredients to mixture to the right production, to give what it's called. I don't know the name Auftrag in English. It's
order.
The order, yeah, thank you. They give the order to a production company, and they get the bars back, and they are a very important supplier of the German, for example, DM Drogeriemarkt, Müller Drogeriemarkt, and so on. So it's a very small company, but they handle the production, they handle also the logistics, they handle it, the warehouse. They handle an own warehouse, and they handle also an external warehouse with Odoo. And so for me, it was very surprising that you can adjust it to maybe not every, but to very different business models. Yeah. And that's for me very surprising, and on the other hand, a very interesting thing to say. You do not need the big solutions. You can use it because sometimes they are better, but for most of the smaller and mid-sized companies, they have to rethink: is Odoo the best, or maybe the Effici, or another one?
Or Zoho CRM.
Zoho, for example, because
one with its offering is even that it is closed source, it delivers you over 40 products or nearly 50 products if you pay one fee and you buy it for the whole company and not the separate modules, which is a fair deal as well. And just to come back to the open source approach, SourceForge.net is the place to look for the solutions. And there you would have found, because I was the only idiot, I could say, who once wrote a CRM guide to open source CRM solution.
I remember it was some years ago, some long years ago.
Some 10 years ago, yeah. That was published, and at that time, Compare was still one of the best all-in-one solutions, which offered CRM, ERP, and others. And I had them on the show where you supported us very long on the CRM Expo as one proof of concept at that time for vTiger, the open source Forge from Sugar, which is now CRM Suite or another one. And also BPM had, which is now Creatio. BPM Online had also an open source part and was very solidly based with sector approaches. So I was wondering that the open source part came also more by self-consulting, by surprise, but do you now approach more in the projects also as the consultant or the consulting agency or business company as 1A relations, the customer in the area of, by your own experience, that open source could be a valid alternative?
Yeah, for me, could it and should it be? Because maybe some, for example, Salesforce or Microsoft will blame me, but I have to say, because you get a little bit independency if you are going the way with open source. Because a lot of companies are saying we have to outsource our IT, we have to outsource a lot of our people, because maybe it could be cheaper. I do not think so, but it was a way of thinking in the last 10 to 15 years. And if I see that the company now it's I can't say the name, but it's a company with a 1.5 billion euro turnover. They have 7 people in the IT. Sorry, but from out of these 7, 3 they are working on PC and desktop and something like this, and the others are having problems with the ERP. That does not go very well. That does not work very well. So I give them the hint to say, if you want to implement a big software program for this new ERP approach, think about to increase your people, your staff in the IT, and think about what do you want to do yourselves, and what is the competencies which could be outsourced. And if you outsource a USP, I do not find this very, very interesting. I do not find it very strategic. If you are doing strategic things, and IT is now very strategic. It depends for communication. Do you have problems in transformation of processes? You have to support a value chain from lead management to the logistics. If you outsource your USP, you make a fault in my mind. And so open source could be also a good alternative, for example, for some USP products, for some USP challenges and processes, where you can support it with your own people, with your own staff, because you can customize it and you can develop it and you do not need for every for every screw external support.
Yeah, I have to wonder though, whenever we talk about open source software, we tend to find cases where the users are getting, they're able to build exactly the tool that they need, which is, of course, one of the great things about open source. But even so, we don't see a lot of open source vendors really succeeding, getting that massive level of revenue that we see from companies like Microsoft or Oracle or whomever. Why is that? And how can we make open source a more viable option in the market?
I think, for example, I'm talking very often, maybe each half of the year, I'm talking to Martin Hubschneider, for example. And Martin Hubschneider is
the CEO of CAS.
Yes, thank you. And and Martin, he said maybe last year, maybe it's 2 years ago, with the smart we approach, they also thinking about an open source. It's not a real open source, but it's a community to challenge the problems that they do not want to give, for example, Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft and Adobe all the power to be the market leaders, because he said, I want to establish an own a micro what it's called, a micro world. No, not
Some to use an overutilized word.
Yeah, that's to give a platform to develop all the things. So it's a kind of open source in my mind. And so so the problem for the old thinking of open source is the most initiatives, they do not earn very much money, because that's the reason why that Odoo say, okay, you can buy you can use the open source for now, or you can use the version with 40 euros per module per month. And I can also remember to a discussion with some of the sugar partners, because they said, if we support the open source version, they do not get money for for the license. They only get money for implementing, and that's now recurrent revenue model for the providers, and the most efficient, maybe what it's called, Gelddruckmaschine, to print money, to print the bucks. It's you have the recurrent revenue model. It's for me also the kind, because, or the idea, because the cloud offering, it's a recurrent revenue model, and that's most of the companies say that's a very nice business model, because if they are getting in contract, the money is coming every month, maybe once per year in advance. So I think that you have to reorganize your business model in open source, thinking what could be a good business model to earn money for the initiative. And maybe it's kind of like Martin said, altruistic. It's
Altruistic,
it's an altruistic approach, and so he said, I do not want to earn a lot of money, but I want to be independent, and that could be an approach for the open source community.
He would largely agree with Linus Torvalds and his Linux operating system, and the founder of AIM in the Bodensee area, who is driven by the idea that he is creating a community in the BI and more environment. And our guest, Phil Winters, has spoken several times about that approach, and that NIME has managed with its community to deliver open source driven products which are much more valued in the Gartner quadrants in detail, and in their, let's say, value they create for the money than well-known brand products in the same arena.
Yeah, it's Phil is talking about this, but for example, Dymetrics in Stuttgart is also mixing all the tools for the analytics, and Thomas, the CEO from Dymetrics, he told me years ago, NIME is not the only one, but it's in some cases it's the best one for this task, for this objective. And then they take NIME, for example. On the other hand, they have also sometimes SAS, they have maybe another tool, but NIME is a very, very useful tool, he said. And so it's not only a classical open source solution, but Dymetrics, they installed it in their marketing campaign and analytics solutions.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of that. I think I agree with Linus Torvalds and a lot of other people that it's good to be comfortable and independent, but you don't have to have more money than God.
Yeah.
Just, I'm with earning
the old Elon would contradict there, but
yeah, he can, but
probably too.
Yeah, well, we can shoot him off the planet and he can go find his own money.
We give him no return ticket, so
yes. So go for a rocket, go for Pluto, and stay there.
Yes.
And the world is a better place. And I know that rocket would have a lot of space for some other funny people. I would like him to join. Yeah, go for Pluto and make your.
I think Marshall, he's right. Please, Ralph, let's stay, because this altruistic approach is a very important approach, because we are talking about, for example, the LinkedIn hate speech at the moment, and who is behind LinkedIn? It's Microsoft. So I knew a lot of activities to say, hey, why we are supporting Microsoft and they accept in the LinkedIn community hate speeches every day from different people. And so the better way to get a better world is the altruistic approach. And for example, the open source is a wide community. And if I remember right, Odoo, it's, for example, 4 million people, they are working in this community. I don't know it for the others, but for me, and that's a huge amount of people. Yeah? If you need aid, you are talking you're putting your question in the forum, in the chat, and maybe 2 hours later you have the solutions, or you have maybe 2 solutions.
Okay, so now most businesses do not really care about altruistic or not. They care about stability of support, reliability of support, viability of the company that supports or that delivers it. So, which are all at least a doubt in a scenario like this. So whether this is right or not, whether it's right or not, but this is what is in people's minds. So
the doubt is one of the big problems. Yes,
so
I know.
How to change that? That's what basically Marshall was probably also after. What can people like us do to change it?
How to change it? I have a sentence in mind from a good friend. He said, "If you're taking one of the big 5, you cover your ass."
Never got ever fired for choosing IBM. Yeah.
Yes. And so I don't want to say the names, but everybody knows who are the big 5s or the big 10s, and And if this kind of mindset is always on, it doesn't change. But if this mindset could change by the younger people, they grew up in the hierarchy, and so if they are in a better mind to decide what could be good for the company and what is good for the economy, for the altruistic economy. I do not want to say that the big five are bad, but that's not a good way that the big five grew bigger and bigger, because we all know what is the result of they are growing bigger and bigger. The independent.
Who's the fifth, by the way?
Implementing the big five is the safe play. There's no risk.
Yeah.
But what you're giving up is that there is not going to be any innovation except at their pace. Nothing new is going to come out for that platform until the platform maker gives it to you.
Yeah, you are right. I take, for example, don't know the name. I know the name, but I can't say it because one of our current projects is one of the big fives. But the innovation in the project comes not from the vendor; it comes from the provider.
Now, to answer Thomas' question, who, from your perspective, are the big five?
No, only the fifth one. The first four I can imagine.
In our CRM tech world list, the big six are SAP,
Oracle, Microsoft, okay.
And what I forget?
Salesforce.
Salesforce, I said this, but what are the next? I have one not in mind. Oracle and HubSpot and Sugar.
Okay, okay.
That's fair.
Then we are at least in the clear now.
And we can approach a friend and one who is not willing to come into the show yet, to put on our plate and have them all here. Interesting.
We'll get them. We'll get them.
You are counted amongst the big six by famous consultants, which is good.
In the CRM, in the wider CRM CX market, I think in the point of view of our European point of view, that's one of the six most important. And sometimes you can add, or sometimes you can reduce from the list, maybe.
There was no right or wrong answer. I just was curious which one you're talking about.
Right.
If you see from the foundation, they had not only through their open source fans, but also in the development of their company in the last 12 to 14 years, Sugar has taken a very interesting path. And we have regular guests from Sugar in our show, and we are in multilateral conversations to see developments. But coming back to figures and stability, a company which has 76 employees and a turnover around about 12 million US dollars does have a certain stability, addressing Thomas' point. Another perspective is
that's the point of the company, is who we consult to say, well, open source is a risk because the companies that run it are not viable. It's not my point.
Yeah.
I'm just a messenger, ready to be taught.
And my perspective was simply to inform the audience, as I checked up with the figures, that Belgian company is not such small, but it is not such big, and they are in their sales approach. If they are in direct sales, they are quite aggressively going forward, whereas their business partners are more having the friendly spirit, such as They do not run through the closed door and want you sign a deal. They want to convince you that they deliver a proper solution. That is what in the research for that convo I found out, and in direct contacts to Odoo headquarters, I got, let's put it politely, shown a cold shoulder. They are not interested in publicity. They are not interested in community or larger community. They are only interested in their own stuff, which is a very valuable approach to reflect with George also on where does the innovation from your perspective take place? At Odoo headquarters or through the community?
Normally the community drives the innovations in my mind, because the community is in the daily business more involved. If you are looking on the roadmaps, I sometimes ask the big companies, also the smaller ones, to show the roadmap. Only Microsoft, I found only Microsoft has published his roadmap. The others do not or hesitate to do it. It was 2 years ago, Thomas. I tried to get it, and maybe now it's a little bit better than 2 years ago. But in this case, I get only the roadmap from CIS. I get it from what is the company in Gießen? The specialist for
it is Intraware.
Yeah,
the Lotus Notes area.
In Gießen, it's another company, but it's not the problem. But I get only from Microsoft as a big company, and the others are always in the smaller ones. And but it's driven by the people. It's driven by the companies, and so if I see the problems most of the companies had. On the one hand, they have no own developers because they have reduced it. On the other hand, we have a problem on the capacity on the service providers, because now they are all full booked. If I'm talking to the providers in the last 12 months, it's independent which branch, which industry you are looking in. In retail, all the providers are fully booked. In publishing houses, all the providers are fully booked. We try to get two in our CRM Insights event, and the two big ones said, I do not need lead management at the moment. I'm fully booked for the next 12 months.
So you would say that for the next 6 months, the large ones are closed or are closing shops down because of richdom?
Yeah, that's it. And so for me, back to the original question, in the companies I'm working in, and also the companies I'm consulting, or I did consulting and I do consulting at the moment, the big problem is they have lots of ideas. They had sometimes a lot of pain points because of the transformation. They had old systems. They have to transform into new systems. They had ideas for develop, to increase, to get leverage in the business model, but they get it not on the road. And so if they have no own people to develop, there's actually currently no chance to get a step forward.
Would you say
if you are on the open source level, and if you are in the no code and low code level, so you could do it by your own, and that's for me a big challenge on the one hand and a big chance on the other hand.
Going for the employee and the attitude towards employee, I was wondering if you followed some of the postings, not only from Thomas, but also from Juan Mendoza, from Martech newsletter, the TMW, who just showed us a very convincing chart about rich companies and their attitudes in laying off people when they are earning fortune and money. Is that the right attitude, which is creating value by your perspective out of your over 30 years of consultancy?
And I think if I am, it will be a very bad answer, maybe, or very difficult answer, because
a bad one. Well, I go for the bad one.
You apparently are not a shareholder of any of these companies.
Yeah, but I tried to translate it in words. They can explain it a little bit, because on the one hand we saw lots of projects that we are not involved, but we saw the results. There was a promise which was not fulfilled in the contract phase. Lots of companies, they present like a fashion model, or they do not make a beauty contest to compare which could be the best one. They do not compare with costs, with use cases and checklists and so on. And maybe it's not the majority, but very often we found that a student or the young professionals will be chosen to say, let's start to choose the project, select the CRM, or select the marketing automation software. That's the one part. The other said, like before, cover the ass. Let's invite the big three, and one of these three we take. But since 10 or 15 years, I say, if your neighbor, if your friend has, for example, Microsoft or Salesforce or Globotech and partner, or company like this, like Adito, like it's very indifferent which name you could say, that if it's your neighbor and if they are in the same business model as you, that's no guarantee that you take the same product. Because one of my best stories I heard, it's one of a company. They said, oh, we have sold our CRM system to Danone. Yeah. And Danone, everybody knows, it's a consumer retail company. On the other hand, some years later, Nestle is coming to this company and say, oh, Danone has the same software as we need. And the chief executive officer said, years later, I sell the same product to the second company, but I do not sell only some license. I get the same amount of money because of consultancy, of adjusting the system, of something like this, as the first project from Danone, because Nestle and Danone, they have different culture, they have different leadership approaches, they have different processes to decide, they have different processes from how to handle the supply chain, how to handle it into the delivery management. And so he said, I'm a rich man now because I sold one software 2 times with a big amount of consultancies in addition. And so that's no guarantee that if your neighbor, if your neighbor is not the right but if your colleague in the market has the product, and you say, that's the same business model, forget it.
Yeah,
it does not work. And so if the sellers say, this company is a best practice for you, I say, stop. It could be a best practice, but it isn't. Mostly it is.
Yeah, two people can follow the same recipe and make different food.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it has a different, let's say, taste, experience with the consuming guest. Yeah. Such as if he.
And I ask always these executive officers. Oh, my wine is empty. And also the CIOs. Why do you want to choose the same software as your colleague? Yeah, maybe I can adopt all these standards from them. And what is the result? The company has to adopt the standards of the other company. They have to adjust their own 10 years, 12 years, 20 years developed USP. They lost this USP. And that could be not a good idea, that if you lost your USP to take a standard solution, that's a strategic error in my mind. It's no complaint about the product, but it's the wrong way to choose the software.
If you are going to make a shout out or a last positive approach on open source, what would be your wrapping up statement for today's session? Is always good.
Yeah, and like Thomas said, where's the problem? Where's the pain point? Thomas, you said it before. Most of the people are anxious to decide it in this case, and so one of the aim is to say open source. You do not have to be feared. You do not have to be anxious to decide it for an open source product. Maybe that's one of my advice, that open source vendors should invest more to say you have lots of fun with this product. The other way around is to say to all the C-level, maybe the predecessors of the C-level persons, to say, okay, let's try more to test more products, to be more to test more different products, because independency is for me one of the most important part. Independency is for me to have the hand on your USP, and if you are going more to standard, you lose your USP, or you pay a lot of money if you want to recreate out of a standard model your USP. And so I don't know the English word, but man biegt sozusagen diese Software wieder teuer. What it's called in English, so to help our English-speaking listeners. This
well, you're bending the software. Yeah.
Bending, yeah, okay. You're bending the product, and for example, for me, I'm representing a small company, so I think open source, you need somebody, maybe 2 or 3 people. They are working on this open source approach. They do not have deep dive programmers. It's only important that they have a good intellectual property, and to understand a little bit in kind of programming. For example, one of my colleagues, I can't say it in English because it's a German word. He makes at the IHK formation for data and process analytics.
It's the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce. It's one of a new kind of formation, and it's maybe 2 years ago that starts in Germany with the data and process analytics, and they do not have a lot of programming in their formation. They have more and more the how to handle data, how to analyze data, and how to develop processes, and how to get out of the processes data, and how to use within the processes the data. So that's a very new approach of new people, and I said, you do not need always experienced people. You do not need always students. They come out of the university. Also, the formation, for example, as my colleague Florian did, it's very sufficient to have a staff of people. They can use open source products. They can no-code and low-code programming. And for me, it's a kind of thinking to say that starts to get a new chance from new people. They to educate them, to try and train them. And you have, for example, in my case, it's 3 people in a company with 100. You need maybe about 10 people. You have all around 10% minimum. They are using your software. They are manipulating software. They customize software. But you are more and more independent.
Cool. With these famous words, we thank you very much, George, joining us for that interesting evening, and keep your relationship on a straight course with open source, and enjoy very much the chosen approach, and keep us updated on your progresses.
And please
I will do
refill your
so.
wine.
Oh, Marshall, sorry, I interrupted.
Please refill your wine now.
Yeah. I do so. The bottle is in the fridge.
Next time you need a bigger glass so that we can continue the conversation.
Maybe now that the next drink could be a whiskey, but now push the stop button, maybe, Thomas.
Okay, I'll do.
Until
Thanks
next
a lot for
time.
being here.
Guys, Thomas, Marshall,
Thanks a lot to the
a big
audience.
thank you to you all.
Let's go backstage.